3 weeks after the first contact, the Empire's invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Mars. 500 warships, each one bigger than the largest human space station, filled the void with golden light. At the fleet's center, Supreme General Vars watched Earth's blue sphere with contempt. "Primitive world," he growled. "Begin standard pacification protocol." The Empire had used the same strategy for 10,000 years. First wave, destroy military targets. Second wave, eliminate government centers. Third wave, accept surrender. It never failed. First wave launching. Supreme General, his fleet commander reported. 200 fighters streaked toward Earth, their energy weapons charging. The planet seemed defenseless. No orbital platforms, no defense fleet, nothing. General Vars smiled. This would be the easiest conquest yet. Then his tactical officer screamed. Multiple signatures appearing everywhere. The officer's claws frantically danced across his console. They're coming out of nowhere. Space itself seemed to tear open. Thousands of small, dark ships appeared, surrounding the Empire's fighters. They hadn't jumped in. They had simply appeared, as if they'd been there all along. Impossible. Vars leaped from his command chair. Where did they come from? "Sir, they're using some kind of quantum cloaking technology." The science officer's voice shook. "Our sensors can't track them." The human ships moved like nothing the Empire had ever seen. They didn't turn. They simply reoriented instantly, as if physics meant nothing to them. Their weapons weren't energy beams or plasma. They fired tiny projectiles that somehow ignored shields completely. "First wave is gone, sir." The fleet commander's voice was barely a whisper. All 200 fighters destroyed. No survivors. Vars couldn't believe it. Launch the second wave. All remaining fighters. Show these primitives real Imperial power. 300 more fighters launched. The human ships vanished again, becoming invisible to every sensor. "Where are they?" Vars demanded. "Find them." "Sir, look." An officer pointed at the main screen. Small holes were appearing in space around the Empire's fighters. From each hole, a single human ship emerged, fired once, and vanished again before the Imperial pilots could even turn to fight back. "This is impossible," Vars muttered. "We are the Empire. We cannot be defeated by. Sir, the humans are targeting our capital ships now." The quantum holes began appearing around the invasion fleet. Human ships slipped in and out of reality, their weapons tearing through Imperial armor like it was paper. "Retreat," Vars finally ordered. "All ships, retreat." But the humans had other plans. Every time an Imperial ship tried to enter hyperspace, quantum distortions blocked their escape. They were trapped. In her command center beneath Olympus Mons, Admiral Chen watched the battle through quantum-linked displays. Status report. "Empire fleet is contained," her tactical advisor reported. "0 human casualties. Enemy losses at 60% and climbing." Chen opened a channel to the Imperial flagship. "General Vars, remember our warning. The one you ignored." On his burning bridge, Vars saw the human admiral's calm face. What are you?" "We're humans. We had centuries to prepare while you conquered others. To develop technologies you never imagined. To master quantum physics in ways your empire thought impossible." Chen's voice was almost gentle. "We tried to warn you." "Please," Vars had never begged before. "Show mercy." "Mercy?" Chen looked at him sadly. "Like the mercy you showed 200 other species." "No. But we'll offer you something the Empire never offered others. A chance to surrender." As Vars looked at his dying fleet, he realized a terrible truth. The Empire hadn't found a new species to conquer. They had found their replacements. "We surrender," he whispered. But this was only the beginning. The real war was about to start. The Imperial War Council chamber on Xilera Prime fell silent as the holographic display showed their defeat at Earth. Emperor Xarlvi's face darkened with rage as he watched his mighty fleet surrender to the humans' strange ships. Impossible, he roared, smashing his armored fist against his golden throne. How dare these primitives? High Admiral Kavak stepped forward, his old scales reflecting the dim light. My Emperor, these humans, they fight like nothing we've seen in 10,000 years. Their quantum technology. I don't want excuses. The Emperor's eyes blazed. I want solutions. Send the Grand Fleet. In the shadows of the council chamber, young General Zora watched quietly. Unlike the others, she had studied the battle recordings carefully. The humans didn't just have better technology. They fought differently. They adapted. They surprised. They showed mercy when they could have destroyed everything. My Emperor, she spoke up, ignoring the gasps at her boldness. Perhaps we should. A new alarm blared through the chamber. The central hologram shifted, showing real-time attacks across Imperial space. Human ships were appearing everywhere, striking military bases and disappearing before defense fleets could respond. They're attacking 50 systems simultaneously. Kavak shouted, but that's impossible. No fleet can coordinate across such distances. General Zora understood first. They're using AI battle coordinators, she said. Their ships are linked through quantum networks. They don't need traditional command structures. The Emperor rose, his ceremonial armor gleaming. Then we shall give them a proper Imperial response. All fleets deploy. Crush these upstarts with overwhelming force. But the humans had anticipated this too. Admiral Chen's voice broadcasted across all Imperial frequencies. To all conquered species in the Empire, we offer you freedom. To all Imperial citizens, we offer peace. To the Empire's leaders, we offer one last chance to surrender. The council chamber erupted in chaos as reports flooded in. Slave species were revolting. Imperial citizens were protesting. And the human ships kept appearing and disappearing, striking with surgical precision at military targets while avoiding civilian casualties. My Emperor, General Zora tried again. The human strategy is clear. They're not trying to destroy us. They're dismantling our power structure. They're offering our own people a choice. Silence. The Emperor raged. We are the Empire. We do not bend. Launch the Doomsday Fleet. Deep in human space, Admiral Chen watched the Empire's responses through quantum feeds. In her command center, an AI display showed thousands of battle simulations running simultaneously, predicting every possible Imperial move. They're deploying their reserve fleets, her AI advisor reported. Exactly as predicted. Chen nodded. Initiate Phase 3. And send word to our new allies. Across Imperial space, recently liberated species joined the fight. Ships of all designs, now equipped with human quantum technology, appeared alongside Earth's forces. The rigid Imperial battle formations couldn't adapt to the chaos of fighting enemies that appeared and disappeared at will. In the council chamber, General Zara watched another fleet surrender. My Emperor, she said one final time. The humans knew everything about us before they struck. They spent centuries preparing not just weapons, but alliances, plans. They're not just fighting our ships. They're fighting our very way of thinking. The Emperor finally fell silent as he watched his empire crumbling. The humans hadn't just brought superior technology to the war. They'd brought hope to the oppressed, doubt to the faithful, and a completely new way of fighting that 10,000 years of Imperial doctrine couldn't counter. And this was still just the beginning. The former slave planet of Cathera burned with celebration fires. After 3,000 years of Imperial rule, they were free. Tulara, the resistance leader, watched human ships materialize in orbit, bringing supplies and defensive technology. Your people fought bravely, Admiral Chen said, standing beside Tulara on a balcony overlooking the capital city. You helped change the tide of this war. Tulara's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep emotion among her people. For millennia, we dreamed of freedom, but the empire was too strong. Until you came. Below them, Human engineers worked alongside Theran technicians, installing quantum shield generators. Similar scenes played out across hundreds of worlds as more species joined the human-led alliance. The Empire made a crucial mistake, Chen said, watching the work below. They thought conquering worlds made them stronger. Instead, it gave us allies everywhere. An alert chimed from Chen's quantum communicator. She activated it, revealing a hologram of General Zara, the Empire defector who now served as their primary intelligence source. Admiral, Zara's image flickered. The Emperor has ordered the release of the ancient weapons. They're desperate. Tilera hissed in fear. The ancient weapons were planet killers, sealed away even by the Empire's standards as too horrible to use. But Chen smiled. Right on schedule. Signal our sleeper agents. Across Imperial space, carefully placed human operatives activated. They had infiltrated the Empire's most secure facilities years before the war began, waiting for this moment. In the Imperial weapons vault on Celera Prime, automated defenses suddenly turned against their masters. Storage locks engage. Computer systems crashed. The ancient weapons remained sealed, untouchable, impossible. Emperor Karl screamed when he received the news. How could they have known? How could they have prepared for everything? In his rage, he ordered his remaining loyal fleets to attack human-controlled worlds directly. But each Imperial assault met the same fate: quantum-shielded planets, disappearing defense fleets, and newly liberated species fighting alongside the humans. On Kythera, Tilera watched the latest battle reports with amazement. Your quantum technology, it changed everything. Chen shook her head. The technology helped, but that's not why we're winning. Look there. She pointed to the streets below, where humans worked side by side with Kytherans, teaching them to use new weapons and defensive systems. The Empire ruled through fear and division. We're winning through unity and hope. Chen's eyes hardened. They never understood that every world they conquered could become our ally. Every species they enslaved could join our cause. Her communicator chimed again. This time, it showed a massive Imperial dreadnought surrendering to a combined fleet of human and liberated alien ships. Another Imperial commander choosing to switch sides, Chen noted. They're realizing that we offer a better future than the Empire ever did. Tilera touched one of her ceremonial scars, a mark of Imperial enslavement. We were alone for so long. Each species suffered separately, thinking we were the only ones dreaming of freedom. Not anymore, Chen promised. Humanity remembered its own history of oppression and revolution. We spent centuries preparing not just to fight the Empire, but to help everyone they'd enslaved. Below them, the celebration fires burned brighter as news of another Imperial defeat spread. More ships appeared in orbit, vessels of dozens of different species, all now fighting together. The Empire had spent 10,000 years building the perfect machine of conquest and oppression. But they never imagined that their greatest enemies would be the very people they'd conquered, united under the banner of humanity's leadership. The resistance wasn't just growing. It was becoming an unstoppable force of unity that the Empire's weapons could never defeat. Emperor Zarl VI stood in the sacred vault, deep beneath his palace on Celera Prime. Around him, ancient machines hummed to life for the first time in 5,000 years. The Omega weapons, devices so terrible that even the Empire had sealed them away. My Emperor, General Zara warned, her hologram flickering in the dim light. Using these weapons will condemn billions of innocent Imperial citizens to death. Better death than human rule. Sarl snarled, activating the first weapon. We are the Empire. We cannot lose. The Omega weapons were reality-breaking devices from a forgotten age. They could tear apart the fabric of space itself, destroying entire star systems in seconds. The Empire had used them only once before, to end a rebellion that threatened their rule 4,000 years ago. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Chen watched the quantum sensors light up with warnings. They've activated the Omega weapons, she reported to the Allied Council. leaders of 20 formerly enslaved species, just as our intelligence predicted. Tilara, the Catharan representative, leaned forward. Can your defenses really stop weapons that powerful? Chen's answer was a slight smile. We've had centuries to prepare. Computer, initiate Operation Echo. Across human space, hidden quantum arrays activated. They had been waiting for this moment since humanity first detected the Empire's signals centuries ago. Each array was specifically designed to counter the Omega weapon's reality-breaking effects. On Silera Prime, Emperor Xarl watched in triumph as the first Omega weapon fired. A beam of pure destruction lanced out toward Earth and vanished into nothing. What? Xarl stumbled back. Impossible. Fire again. All 12 Omega weapons fired simultaneously. Their combined power should have erased the entire human sector from existence. Instead, their beams disappeared into quantum sinkholes that appeared the instant before impact. My Emperor, Zara's hologram spoke softly. You still don't understand. The humans knew about these weapons. They study our history, our technology, our deepest secrets. They prepared countermeasures for everything. In Earth orbit, Chen opened a channel to all Imperial frequencies. Emperor Xarl, your Omega weapons cannot harm us. We've been studying them since before we made first contact. Every weapon you have, we've learned to counter. Every strategy you know, we've prepared to defeat. The Allied Council watched as human quantum ships appeared around Silera Prime, surrounding the Imperial capital. Your choices are simple now, Chen continued. Surrender and help us build a better galaxy, or watch as everything you built crumbles around you. The Empire as you know it ends today. The only question is how many more lives will be lost before you accept it. In the sacred vault, Xarl slumped onto his throne. The Omega weapons, his last, most terrible hope, had failed. How? He whispered. How did they defeat our greatest weapons so easily? Zara's hologram showed a sad smile. Because while we spent 10,000 years believing we were invincible, they spent centuries preparing to prove we weren't. They didn't just build better weapons, they built a better way of thinking. Above the Imperial capital, thousands of ships from liberated worlds joined the human fleet. Former slaves, now allies. Former enemies, now partners in building a new future. The Empire's desperate gambit had failed. Their ultimate weapons were useless. Their last hope of victory had vanished into quantum sinkholes designed centuries before the first shot was fired. Now, all that remained was to see if the Empire would choose wisdom or destruction in its final hours. And humanity waited patiently, ready for either choice. The Imperial Palace on Silera Prime shook as another defense shield collapsed. Outside, the combined fleet of humans and liberated species filled the sky. 10,000 years of empire were ending not with a bang, but with a series of surrenders. Inside the Grand Throne Room, Emperor Xarl faced his divided council. Half wanted immediate surrender. The other half demanded they fight to the last soldier. The humans have breached the outer defenses, General Zora reported, no longer bothering to hide her support for peace. They're moving building by building, minimizing civilian casualties. Cowards. High General Kraz spat. They should just bomb us from orbit like real warriors. That's why you don't understand them, Zora replied quietly. They're not here to destroy us. They're here to change us. A new hologram appeared in the center of the throne room. Admiral Chen, flanked by representatives of 20 formerly enslaved species. Emperor Xarl. Chen's voice was calm but firm. Your military is defeated. Your weapons are neutralized. Your empire is transforming. But you still have a choice. Xarl gripped his throne's armrests. What choice? Submit to human rule. No. Chen's answer surprised him. Help us build something better. A federation where all species have equal voice, where strength comes from cooperation, not conquest. Outside, more Imperial ships were landing, their crews choosing surrender over pointless resistance. The quantum-enabled Allied fleet had made conventional space warfare obsolete. "Look, Tilara," the Ctheran representative stepped forward. "Your own people are choosing change. They've seen what cooperation with humans has brought to liberated worlds. Prosperity, freedom, hope." The palace shook again, another defense line giving way to the precise, careful advance of human forces. "This isn't just about military power," Chen continued. "We could have destroyed your capital from orbit. Instead, we're moving slowly, protecting civilians, showing that there's a better way." Sarl stood, his ceremonial armor feeling heavier than ever. "And if I refuse?" "Then we continue advancing," Chen said simply. "More Imperial citizens choose our side. More worlds join the Federation, and you become increasingly irrelevant to the galaxy's future." General Zera stepped forward. "My Emperor, I've studied the humans since they first appeared. They spent centuries preparing not just to defeat us, but to replace our entire system with something better. Look around, they're already succeeding." The throne room's windows showed the truth. Imperial citizens were welcoming the advancing human forces. Former slave species worked alongside their previous masters, building a new society even as the old one crumbled. "Your empire ruled through fear," Chen said. "We offer something stronger. Hope. Your people are choosing hope." Sarl looked at his divided council, at the hologram showing human forces carefully advancing, at his own citizens embracing change. "How?" he finally asked. "How did you plan all this so perfectly?" "We had centuries to prepare," Chen replied. "While you broadcast your conquests, we listened and learned. While you celebrated your power, we prepared our response. While you ruled through fear, we built alliances." Another defense line fell. More surrenders, more changes. Sarl stepped down from his throne, understanding finally dawning. The humans hadn't just beaten the Empire's military. They'd defeated its entire way of thinking. He looked at his council, at the holograms of former enemies now working together. "I choose hope." The words echoed through the palace, across the capital, throughout the Empire. The last emperor of the old order had chosen transformation over destruction. The final push wasn't won with weapons, but with the promise of a better future. And as Karl descended his throne for the last time, the sun rose on a new era for the galaxy. 1 year after the Empire's surrender, the Great Hall of Unity on Earth hosted representatives from 300 species. The former Imperial Palace on Solera Prime had been transformed into a museum, a reminder of how far the galaxy had come. Admiral Chen stood at the podium, her uniform now bearing the symbols of the Galactic Federation. Behind her sat former Emperor Xarl, now serving as a cultural advisor, and Tilara, the first elected president of the Federation Council. "A year ago," Chen began, "we witnessed the end of one era and the birth of another. But our story began long before that." The holographic displays activated, showing Earth's first detection of Imperial signals centuries ago. Cities full of humans working together, preparing, building the quantum technology that would one day reshape the galaxy. "When we first heard the Empire's broadcasts," Chen continued, "we had a choice. We could hide, hoping they'd never find us. We could build weapons, preparing for war. Instead, we chose a third path. We prepared to change the galaxy." The displays showed human ships helping former Imperial worlds rebuild, former slaves working alongside their previous masters, new quantum networks connecting civilizations that had been kept apart for millennia. Our victory wasn't won through superior firepower. Chen gestured to the assembled representatives. It was won through hope, through unity, through the belief that together, we could build something better than the Empire ever imagined. Tilara stood next, her 4 eyes bright with emotion. "A year ago, my people were slaves. Today, we help govern a federation where all voices matter. The humans didn't just free us. They showed us how to build a better future." Former Emperor Xarl rose last, his once proud armor replaced with simple diplomatic robes. I ruled an empire that spanned galaxies, he said quietly. But I never understood true power until I saw humans working together with their former enemies. Until I saw cooperation achieve what conquest never could. The displays showed the new Quantum Academy, where species from across the galaxy study together. The defense fleet, where former Imperial ships flew alongside human vessels. The council chambers, where every species had an equal vote. But our work isn't finished, Chen continued. Somewhere out there, other empires exist. Other species suffer under conquest and oppression, and when they need help, we'll be ready. The assembly erupted in applause as Chen unveiled the Federation's new mission, to spread hope across the galaxy, not through conquest, but through cooperation. In the Academy Library, young beings of all species studied Earth's history, finally understanding why humans had warned the Empire to run. They learned about Earth's own dark past, about empires and conquests, about the lessons humanity had learned the hard way. They learned how humans had spent centuries preparing not just weapons and shields, but plans for peace. How Earth had built quantum technology not just to fight, but to unite. How humanity had turned its greatest potential enemies into its strongest allies. As the ceremony ended, Admiral Chen met privately with Tilara and Tarl. Did you really plan all this from the beginning? Sarl asked. The Federation, the unity, everything. Chen smiled. We learned from our own history that victory without purpose is meaningless. So yes, we planned for peace as carefully as we planned for war. Tilara touched the Federation symbol on her chest. You didn't just defeat the Empire. You replaced it with something better. Outside, the sun set on Earth, its light reflecting off quantum ships from 100 worlds. The Empire was gone, but its people lived on, not as conquerors or slaves, but as equals in a federation that stretched across the stars. Humanity's warning had been ignored, but their dream of a united galaxy had finally come true.